And now we move to another genre, and that is war photography. And the famous name that comes to the mind is Robert Capa. He was born on October 22nd in 1913. He was a Hungarian combat photographer and photojournalist who covered 5 different wars. That is the Spanish Civil War, the Second Sino-Japanese War, World War II across the Europe, the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, and the First Indochina War. He documented the course of World War II in London, North Africa, Italy, the famous Battle of Normandy in Omaha Beach, and the liberation of Paris. His action photographs, such as those taken during 1944 Normandy landings, portray the violence of the war with unique impact. Capa originally wanted to be a writer. However, he found work in photography in Berlin and grew to love the art. In 1933, he moved from Germany to France because of the rise of Nazism, but found it difficult to find work there as a freelance journalist. He adopted the name Robert Capa around this time. In fact, Capa, which means shark, was his nickname in school, and he also felt that it would be recognizable and American sounding since it was similar to that of film director Frank Capra. He found it easier to sell his photos under the newly adopted American sounding name, and over a period of time gradually assumed the persona of Robert Capa. Capa's first published photograph was that of Leon Trotsky making a speech in Copenhagen on the meaning of the Russian Revolution in 1932. Capa felt that if you were not close enough to the subject, then you wouldn't get a good photograph. He was often in the trenches with soldiers when he took photographs, while most of the other war photographers took photographs from a distance, from a safe distance rather. In 1936, he became known across the globe for a photo known as the Falling Soldier. It is a picture of a militiaman who had just been shot and was in the act of falling to his death. There has been a long controversy about the authenticity of this photograph. A Spanish historian identified the dead soldier as Federico Borel Garca from Alcant. His identification has been disputed. In 1947, Capa co-founded Magnum Photos with, among others, the French photographer Henri CartierBresson. The organization was the first cooperative agency for worldwide freelance photographers and has taken many famous wartime photographs. Capa died on May 25, 1954. He was just 41 then. And now we come to yet another photographer of the modern times and a very well-known photographer, and that is Henri CartierBresson. Henri CartierBresson has a style that makes him a natural on any top 10 photographers list. His style has undoubtedly influenced photography as much as anyone else's. He was among the first to use 35mm film, and he usually shot in black and white. We are not graced by more of his work since he gave up the craft about 30 years before he passed away. It is sad that there are fewer photographs by CartierBresson to enjoy. His famous words, and I quote, "Your first 10,000 photographs are your worst." And another one, "Pictures, regardless of how they are created and recreated, are intended to be looked at." This brings to the forefront not the technology of imaging, which of course is important, but rather what we might call the ionology, that is seeing. Photography came to India in 1840, and various British photographers travelled to this country to record the historical monuments and the varied landscape of this country. In 1847, William Armstrong surveyed the temples in the Ajanta and Ellora caves and published a book. Lala Dayal, the pioneer of photography in India, photographed this scene on a wider scale than any other European firms did, since he moved with ease between the Indian and the English worlds. Later, Some of the rulers like Raja of Chamba, Ram Singh, the Maharaja of Jaipur, Maharaja of Banaras and other princes also took up photography. Lala Deen Dayal is also famous as Raja Deen Dayal. The doyen of Indian photographers, Lala Deen Dayal was born in 1844 at Sardana in Meerut in UP. He received technical education at Thomson Civil Engineering College in Roorkee, after which he joined as head estimator and draftsman in the Public Works Department at Indore. The ruler of Indore, Maharaja Tukoji Rao II, encouraged him to set up his studio there. Sir Henri Dayal, the agent to the Governor General, also motivated him. According to his memoirs, he was thus able to obtain the patronage of Lord Northbrook, the Governor General of India, in 1874. He accompanied Sir Lepel Griffin on his Central India tour, during which he photographed views of Gwalior, Khajuraho and other sites in central India. In 1896, he expanded his business and opened the largest photography studio in Bombay, which was patronized by the Indians as well as the British. The Nizam visited his studio at Bombay and invited him to Hyderabad. He established a photographic studio in Sikandrabad. The Nizam Mahbub Ali Pasha, Nizam VI, was photographed by Raja Deen Dayal during his shikars, wedding ceremonies, visits by foreign royalties, and so on. The Nizam of Hyderabad conferred on him the title of Raja Musawir Jang Bahadur and a Mansab. Besides the Nizam, Raja Deen Dayal photographed various British dignitaries, military exercises, the visits of King George V, the Prince of Wales. He also accompanied the Nizam VI to Delhi for the Darbar in 1903. He was honoured in 1885 by Lord Dufferin and appointed official photographer to the Viceroy and also to successive Viceroys like Earl Elgin and Duke of Connaught. He had a unique honour of being appointed as photographer to Her Majesty and Queen by Queen Victoria in 1887. He received numerous awards in exhibitions in India and abroad, notable the World Columbian Commission in 1893 in USA. He passed away on 5th July 1905. Raja Deen Dayal photographed most of the Nizams, that is Mahbub Ali, Nizam VI. Daily schedules of his included his administration, the shikars and banquets, as well as the droughts and floods and other calamities. His collections include British Raj, Princely India, Nizams of Hyderabad, monuments, pictorial photography, and so on. Let's come to yet another great Indian photographer, and that is Mr. Tika Zenith. Mr. Tika Zenith, another doyen of Indian photography, during the course of his long career as a photographer, was awarded Padma Shri by the Government of India. He was editor photos, and that is publication division, and also director photo division, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. When it came to describing photography as an art, he would say, photography has different meanings for different people. Some people use it only as a recording medium. In this sense, it has a wide application in different facets of life. For example, journalism, industry, medicine, sociological research. These people use camera as a tool for documentation. But there are also others who handle the camera essentially as a means of self-expression. He would call this second category the camera artists. So it depends upon who is handling the camera. In a nutshell, a photograph becomes a work of art when it has a timeless quality. That is, it should enchant the viewer in the same way as it did 50 years back or 100 years back. He had perfected the art of contre-jour or against the light photography, and I am fortunate to have done a story on this aspect of his photography for a magazine which is circulated around the world in different languages. A man of integrity and upright conduct, he was a disciplinarian when it came to photography. I can say that with pride, for I learned my basics of photography in his institute known as Modern Institute of Photography. And now let us have a look at some of his photographs. We come to yet another great Indian photographer, and that is Mr. Raghu Roy. Born in Jhang, now in Pakistan, 70 years old, Raghu Roy is one of the greatest photojournalists in the world. Inspired by Henri CartierBresson, he is on the panel of Magnum Photos, never tiring like his elder brother S. Paul, another great Indian photojournalist, and who taught Raghu Roy photography. Raghu Roy either captures the mystery of things or he reveals the mystery. For him, everything else is just information. His top tip is, the more you learn, the more you explore. I know one thing, they say genius is born and not made, but genius has to be reborn every minute. For him, the final moment is still coming and there is no time to relax. So, instead of showing a couple of his pictures, I would recommend that you look at his work in the books he has published, Facebook and other websites. There is a lot to see and admire and learn from his work. Among the other great Indian photographers, I would like to name Mitra Bedi, the father of advertising and digital photography in India, Kishore Parekh for his war pictures. He served as an inspiration and role model for many younger photographers hoping to follow in his footsteps. Dr. G. Thomas for his landscapes, and last but not the least, Dayal Singh, a well-qualified artist, for her mesmerizing photographs in black and white and also in color. To conclude, photography is creating new grounds for learning and experimenting. The changes are taking place at a rapid pace, and virtually every day something or the other new is coming up in terms of creativity and technology. My suggestion would be to see as many photographers and their work as possible and make photos of your own. Meet established photographers of your area and also the budding ones. See their work. You would also see pictures that have been published in the media, but more surprisingly, you would also see many more pictures which were not used by the media. These pictures are no less than the ones that have been used. Media has its own constraints, but as Kipling would say, that's another story. Thank you very much.